In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the GetRXD Phoenix Tower, and I'm going to explain why I think this may very well be the best machine that you can put in your home gym, with one specific caveat that might make it a deal breaker for some people. Let's get into it. Hi, my name is Ryan Treadaway, founder of TreadawayTraining.com. If you want to learn more about all things home gym related, consider subscribing. If you want to work with us to put your equipment to good use to transform your body so that you can be healthier for yourself and for your family, consider getting coaching from us at TreadawayTraining.com. First, let's get the boring stuff out of the way and take a look at the overall dimensions. This thing packs a big punch considering it takes up a relatively small footprint. The depth is only 50 inches, and that's if the pulleys are in the forwardmost position. It is 60.5 inches wide, and it is 93.5 inches tall. And taking a look at the dimensions for the cables specifically, the width between the cables in the narrowest position is 9 inches wide. The width in the widest position is 42 inches wide. And so that's definitely not going to compare to the 79 inches wide of the Tornado Rack. However, it is pretty comparable to the typical Power Rack functional trainer combo, which is gonna sit at around 45 to 50 inches wide. So you're basically getting a functional trainer, lat pull, low row, all in one machine. The cables at the highest setting are 90 inches off the floor, and if you drop them all the way down to the lowest setting, they are only 7 inches off the floor. The Phoenix Tower has a 210-pound weight stack with a 2-to-1 ratio per handle, meaning that if you have the full 210 pounds loaded up, you divide that by 2, so you're pulling 105 pounds. But as we all know, 2 plus 2 equals 1. So if you're pulling both pulleys, you're feeling the full 210 pounds. Little pulley math joke for you. But to make it a little bit simpler, you can think of it as you're pulling 50% of the weight per hand to pull the full weight. The benefit is you're actually getting use of the full 210 pounds on the weight stack. So essentially, even though you only have a single 210-pound weight stack, you have the same usable weight with that single weight stack as you do on the Tornado Racks dual 210-pound weight stacks, because these are only 2-to-1 ratios. The drawback is you're only getting half of the cable travel. So if you're pulling both handles, that's still a decent amount of cable travel. But if you're doing something like a cable fly, you don't get quite as much range of motion. But that's the reason why they have included these long D handles, so you can still do exercises like your cable flies, no problem. And to go ahead and answer the question that a lot of you are probably thinking in your head right now, yes, flies actually do feel pretty good at this width. It's not quite the same as doing flies here, where you essentially have a full-length cable crossover machine, but they don't feel that bad, honestly. And I have found myself doing flies on here a couple of times just because, versus doing cable flies on the Tornado Rack. The other slight drawback that I have noticed that's common to all single stack dual pulley machines, not just the Phoenix Tower, is the fact that they're not quite as smooth as with a single stack, single pulley machine. I find that because you're pulling on it from two different sides, maybe there's just like that tiny amount of transfer that you feel from one end to the other, but it's like, I would say 85 to 90% as smooth as the Tornado Rack pulleys. If I'm literally jumping back and forth from one machine to the other, I can tell a little bit of a difference, but not a ton. But enough numbers and math, let's talk about the cool stuff, the star of the show, The dual tornado arms are the reason why I would say this is possibly the greatest machine that you can possibly put in your home gym. Also, quick disclaimer, I did purchase this machine with my own money. However, since I was purchasing it for review, GetRX did give me a discount on the purchase. Also, I have an affiliate link down in the description. If you do use that link, it does help out the channel at no additional cost to you. And no, that does not mean that this is better than a barbell or dumbbells or a rack, because you should have all those things in place first before you go on to doing specialty machines. However, when it comes to machines, this is possibly the best machine that you can put in your home gym. You could use this just like a Rogue CTM1 or an Adonis. You can do your lat pull downs, sit down, take the leg roller, plop it down on here, and then you can do your lat pull downs. But you can let the trolley all the way down to the bottom, put the foot plate on there, you can do your low rows. However, you have so much more versatility with this machine versus any other machine like this because of the arms. You can change the width. If you want to pull the cables out wide and then have your lat pulls to where you're pulling from wide to narrow, you can do that. An exercise that I've found that I've been enjoying here recently is chest supported high rows. So I just took the arms, flipped them all the way to the back, and I have the seat for the Optimus on here. And this has been a really amazing feeling exercise. Of course, you can do flies, which I've already shown earlier, but you can bring the cables down with the back pad on and get your supported chest flies. You can flip the cables all the way around behind you and do your tricep extensions. You can drop the cables all the way down and essentially get a seated Bayesian cable curl. And because you can flip the arms around 180 degrees behind the front post, you never have to worry about range of motion on your low rows ever again. That is an insane stretch when you're doing your low rows. Now, of course, since this is a 210-pound stack, it is a little bit on the light side for some lifters, specifically for low rows. However, you can very easily get either the GetRX adder pin or the Gym Pin brand adder pin. And then also, I don't know if I'm supposed to mention this specifically quite yet, but I do know someone that I will leave nameless for the time being, who's working on a topper that will allow for dual plates to be added to the top if you need additional resistance. If you're enjoying the content, consider subscribing, turning on the notification bell so that you can see more videos just like this. And the thing that I love so much about this machine is it's one of those machines where your imagination is the limit. You know, think about a barbell or a dumbbell. You can basically do whatever exercise that your imagination can come up with. And it's kind of the same thing here. And while the dual tornado arms are almost all positives all the way around, there are two drawbacks that are important to be aware of, including the one that I said in the beginning of the video might be a deal breaker for you. One drawback is that you don't have a fixed high pulling point or low pulling point like you do on the Rep Adonis or the Rogue CTM1. However, I don't feel like that's actually much of a trade-off, because given the choice between a single fixed pulling point and these, I would much rather have the versatility of these and deal with the fact that I have to move the trolley into place. However, that does bring up the second of the two drawbacks, which is the one that might be a deal breaker for some people, which is this trolley is heavy. This thing weighs about 45 pounds. So if you are a brand new lifter, that might not be something that you want to move all the time. For me, as someone who's been lifting for like 20 years, it's really not much of an issue at all to move. And my wife can move it, but she definitely chooses not to move it. If I could give one critique to this machine, it would be to put a counterweight on here so that it's pulling at least some of the weight for you. And I think that could actually be relatively easily done without much of a redesign, because there's a decent amount of space in between the front and back uprights. And so if these bolts were flipped and they told you to install it where the extra is going out the back instead, that should be enough room to shift everything back by one hole, and then there would be a little bit of a gap right here in the middle, and there could be a cylindrical counterbalance weight that drops down right there in the middle. And I think that should work, but GetRXD, if you're watching, that can be something for you to figure out. And be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for updates if you're interested in the Phoenix Tower. The Phoenix Tower clocks in at $2,179 plus shipping. So that does come in cheaper than the Rogue CTM1, which is around $3,000 plus shipping, depending on how you configure it. And it's similar or slightly cheaper than the Rep Adonis, which comes in around $2,500 to $3,000 with shipping included, depending on how you configure it. And if you get the entire Optimus ecosystem, that clocks in at $355, which includes the base, the seat, the back pad, and the leg roller. Which, if you are considering the Phoenix Tower, I would highly encourage you to get the Optimus ecosystem to go with it, because it adds a ton of versatility. But if you don't want to spend quite as much money, of course you can get the lat pull low row dual function attachment for 170 bucks. Basically, you could get the Phoenix Tower plus the entire Optimus ecosystem for about the same price as the Rogue CTM1. And given the choice between this and that, I would definitely choose this. You do lose out on the high and low pulley points, which I've already mentioned. However, the dual tornado arms make up for that 10 times over. And if someone were to offer me the Rogue CTM1 for an even trade, I would still go with this guy. But what do you think? Do you think I'm crazy? Let me know how crazy I am down in the comments. As always, God bless you and your family, and we'll see you in the next one.